Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of The Careful Boys, where we have Paul Gomez over here today. Everybody, let's go.
Cool.
I love that. Obviously, you know, you've had a very established career, but I like that we're taking it to like the very pre-cool and what got you there, and the really, really fun, juicy, exciting stories that maybe hopefully nobody ever heard before. But just to recap, make sure you go check out part 1. You were a high school dropout in your first year as a freshman. With dyslexia, by the way, and you were a hack pro surfer. You somehow made your way into becoming the street team manager of the surf team for Quicksilver, one of the first surf companies to go public in 1988. And you were promoting clubs and getting in with all like the hot bands at the time while you're doing some illegal stuff. Yep. And you almost got arrested. What was that?
So my friend was sitting at a restaurant, and he was there's cops sitting there talking. And they just said, they were going to make this big bust. And he goes, he heard my name.
The cops were just talking?
And they dropped my name of one of the people that was going to get in trouble.
Dang.
And my friend just bolted out of there, and he's like, calls me up. And this is before cell phones. He's like blowing up my home phone. And then he drives over my house. He's like, dude, you're going to go down. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. So I just bailed and went to Mexico on a surf trip.
Oh, shit. Surf team, we're going to Mexico. Mexico looks great.
I was like, we're going to go on a surf trip to Mexico. And then I came home, and it was like, and at that time I was back at my parents' house, and it was like, my mom's like, hey, the police are looking for you. And I'm like, what are you up to? And I'm not up to anything. And I like bailed. And then I went to my girlfriend's house. And then by the time I got to my girlfriend's house, she was crying.
They visited her too?
No, my mom had called and said the police are here.
And this is what, LA or?
This is in La Habra.
La Habra, oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
So I was like, I came home and they're like, you this, that, and the other, and I'm like, you got nothing.
You were how old at this time? 18. Oof.
Did you find out what they were gonna bust you for?
That's not juvie years.
But I didn't have anything. And I was like, you don't got anything.
Does it have to do with chemistry?
No, back then they didn't do chemistry. That was pre-chemistry.
Pre-chemistry? Yeah.
That was before this.
Oh, what's that?
That's chemistry.
That's chemistry. Yeah. You used to take this, and this, and go like this, and they would turn into a rock.
Yeah. And then Bunsen burner is it?
Yeah, that's chemistry. I was pre-chemistry.
I see.
Like I was a high school dropout. I wouldn't have made it past chemistry. I would have blew myself up. So that was it. And then I was never big into drugs ever in my life. I just was like, why? There's no purpose. Because it goes back to, you do that, you're going to answer to the boss. Don't want to answer to the boss. So that was it. I was like, I'm done. Never going to do anything ever legal again. Aside from like nightclub stuff and things like that. But never.
Because that's like, come on, that's not that big.
But it's like, well, at that point in time, you don't think about what you're doing to people.
Yeah, true.
You don't think like you're poisoning people, right? You don't think it's like what you're really having a terrible effect on people's lives. And when you're a teenager and you're a kid, you're just like, oh, I'm rolling deep, I got cash. And I'll never forget this. One of my siblings had got arrested, and he was in jail. And my mom's like, I don't have the bail money to get him out of jail. And he's in LA. And I'm like, well, how much is it? She told me what it was. I'm like, oh, there it is. Don't ask me where I got it from. I gave her the cash to get my brother out of jail. And I was just like, at that point, I was like, what am I? Like, you get that thing, it's like, I can go this direction, or I can go this direction. And then so I just started focusing on like music, trying to build my network and going around. Because at that point in time, people were asking me, like, how do you know that guy? How do you know this guy? And it was just like, because I was always out. And it went on forever. And then when I was 19 or 20, I left Quicksilver and I went and started working with Bob at Billabong. And Bob was like a full-blown Christian, still is. And
Billabong's an Australian company?
Billabong's an Australian company. So the reason that Billabong got started, this is a crazy story. Bob had a little surf shop, one of the best surfboard shapers on the planet. Bob had this little surf shop down in Newport Beach. And he went to Quicksilver and said, hey, I'd like to carry your clothes. And they told him, nah, we're not going to sell to you. You're not this guy, so you're not that guy. He's like, oh, okay. So another guy had gone to Australia and goes, hey, there's this company in Australia called Billabong. And Billabong is like an oasis. That's what a Billabong is. And they go, why don't you bring their clothes in? So he started bringing the clothes and selling out of the shop. And at that time, they had some pretty up and coming young surfers, and he started doing that. And then the guy who was owned Billabong, and a guy named Gordon Merchant, calls him and he goes, "Hey, I don't need people to keep. I need a license there. I need someone to license their brand in America." So Bob's like, "I'll do it." So he started doing it, and like a year later, I came on board and I was working in customer service. But then he was like, I would have people come by. He's like, "Hey, you just had like the Booyah Tribe come in here."
Oh shit! That's crazy.
And he was like, he had all these music. I had all these music guys coming by and getting stuff.
Booyah Tribe of Billabong?
Yeah, dude.
That's crazy.
So those guys, that's a whole other.
They're like an OG Polynesian Samoan funk. They look gangster as fuck, but they all fucking pop lock.
They pop and they sing like birds. And their whole thing is now they are they do security for like everybody. Eminem, Cobra, King Rook, all those guys. They're
fucking cool though.
Super good dudes out of Carson. Cool. So Bob's like, "Hey, you know all these guys this, that, and there." He goes, "So my first title at Bill I was called Special Projects Manager." So I was
That's sick.
So I would do special projects. So I'd put on shows and do these different kinds of things with music and started connecting all these things. And then, so when I was like 22, I was still promoting nightclubs. And then I met my wife. And it was funny because I was at one club and I had a broken leg, and I used to have super long hair all the way down to here, and I'd run it in braids. And she's like, "Oh, it's out there." And she was at the nightclub and she had her hair all slicked back. And I met her, and then I was kind of crazy back then, like just slugging like 24 packs and driving like a psychopath, like still just out of my mind going psycho. And then I met her, and then right when I met her, I was like, "This is the girl." And then so we, a year later, got married. Wow. So I was 23. And by that time, I was doing a bunch of different stuff. So I started promoting surf movies. So it was my friend Rick DeVoe, who's the manager of Blink 182.
Wow.
So this is 1992, 93. Wow. And we were doing, so he had a company called Big Dummy Productions. And Rick's like, I talked to him every single day. I talked to him every day to this day. And he had a company called Big Dummy Productions. So we put on every punk rock show. So he had this little company, and he put on the first Ranches show, he put on the first Pennywise show, he put on the first No Effects show.
Wow.
And we were doing all these different things, and there was a guy named Taylor Steele, who he just had a big, he won like all these awards for the Momentum Generation that was on HBO, and Robert Redford produced it with him. So Taylor had these surf movies, and and then we went to Brett Gurewitz from Epitaph, and he's like, and it's in a whole documentary you can find on HBO, and it's like, he's like, "Hey, we'll give you music, put them in your surf videos." And Bob and I were doing this with Billabong back in the day. So I was the first person to ever put Nirvana in a surf movie, Social Distortion, wow. Concrete Blonde, all these, because I grew up with Mike Ness. So I was like all the punkers, because I was nightclubbing and friends with everybody. So started doing that, and then Rick and I started putting on these tours. And that's how I got into music. So then we had like No Doubt play, we had Sublime play, and then like my son always, and like Bradley, I was with Bradley 3 days before he passed. And he's a really good surfer. Damn. And it was like, he came in and got a bunch of wetsuits and everything else. So on one of the live things, it's like, I get a shout. It's like, "I want to thank Paul Gomez from Billabong for the wetsuits." So that all happened. So that kind of got me my start in the music scene, right? And then, so I had all these connections in music and promoting and traveling all the world and doing shows here, this, there, whatever. And we're doing these shows, and then Rick's working for a guy named Bill Silver Presents. So Bill Silver Presents is huge, like massive. And
when you're like at this phase, because I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, it seems like they have a vision and they try to go for it. At this phase, did you have a vision, or did it just feel? Because it feels like, me knowing you now, it seems like a recipe for success. There's tons of things brewing. But you at that age, did you know there was something that I was gonna like?
I just wanted to do stuff I liked.
Oh.
I didn't want to, like, and that's where I'll get to when I left Nike. I just wanted to do stuff that I liked. Like, I wanted to do stuff that was fun, because if I had to get in there and actually build a deck, and we'll talk about decks, and build stuff like that, then it's like, I don't know how to do that. Like, an Excel spreadsheet, like, I'm just like, right? Like, I don't know. Like, yeah. I use my phone, like you said, I have glasses and a giant font. This is another one of our companies. So it's like, that being said, we did all that, Rick and I, and then I had the Beastie Boys on the cover of Spin magazine wearing a Billabong shirt. And the guy in Australia, because we were licensed, said, I think Paul Gomez should be fired.
What?
And everyone's like, why? And he's like, oh, because we have some New York hip hop band wearing a surf brand. That's a really bad thing. Bob's like, Bob loves punk rock. Awesome. When I was just like, we're kind of like, what? This is crazy. And then I was like, maybe my days are numbered here. Like, this is crazy. And like, at this point in time, you know, we were just kind of looking at it. We're at this time, Billabong's huge, and we're running it globally. Like, I'm the global marketing guy for everything in the world, like huge events, all this type of stuff. And like working with Sublime, working with the Beastie Boys, working with the Red Hot Chili Peppers. The first time Anthony Kiedis, Rick Rubin, and Flea went surfing was me and Sonny Garcia who took them.
Wow.
That's a crazy.
Yeah, so the first time they'd ever gone surfing, we took them surfing. County line. And my friend Opie, because then by that time I was so...
Rick Rubin can float on a surfboard?
Rick Rubin's actually super...
That's so rude.
I know, he doesn't look like
Show some respect, dude.
He had the craziest beard back then. Probably still does. But then my friend Jeff Moore, they call him Opie. By this time, I was so anti-illegal stuff and all that kind of stuff. We made a documentary called Trip on This. It was anti-drug, anti-racism. Right? And a lot of the guys who were in that documentary are now dead. But it was Anthony Kiedis, Beastie Boys, Eric Avery from Jane's Addiction, Dave Navarro from Jane's Addiction, Doug Feiger from The Knack, like all these different artists, and we just made this video talking about like how drugs will destroy life. And this is like early 90s, like late 80s, early 90s we made this thing. It's called Trip on This. Can't even find it. So we did that. So then fast forward into like the late 90s, and Bob gets diagnosed with cancer. And it was like, and then so I'm driving everywhere, and we're like looking at this whole thing, and we're like, dude, this sucks. And he's like, I'm going to start my own thing. I go, you should. And then we went back and forth, and I go, you should do it. Like, you're amazing. And we were going to call it, because Bob's a Christian, and he was like, oh, I'm going to call it Salvation. And then we went back and forth. I'm like, you should just call it Hurley. You're Bob Hurley. And like, he's one of the most prolific surfboard shapers on the planet. So we called it Hurley. And so I was the first employee. I was the first person to bounce. So this is 1998. We launched in 1999. I had a $50,000 marketing budget. That was it. But I knew everybody, so I went on the Warped Tour, put stickers on everybody. I had every band wearing it, Blink-182, the whole, everybody was wearing it, right? So we're out there, and it's like the next year we had to run Billabong and Hurley.
And what was it like? Everybody was wearing it because like it was just fresh and stuff, and everybody.
It was because of you guys. You guys, your network. It was all about friendships, right? And back then you had MTV. You didn't have social media. You didn't have you didn't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And I always say Hurley was like the first Instagram, right? So it was like, so that happens, and then and then my friend Rick, who I was talking about, Blinks. We just launched. It's 1999. Right, and it's like 999. So I always tell people nobody needs another clothing brand, but everybody wants a new story.
It's true.
Nobody needs a new nothing. Everybody wants a new story. So 1999, and 999 in Europe is 911. So it's an emergency. So that was our whole campaign. 999. It's an emergency. There needs to be a thing. So like Billabong's only a surfer knows the feeling. Everybody has their, you know, this, that, every one other thing is our thing was freedom of choice and microphone for youth. We don't care what you think. Go ahead and say it. We're the microphone for youth. Go talk. Just tell us what you think. And then we had Blink was on the VMAs. They opened the VMAs. And back then, remember how MTV would make you put a sticker over everything? You couldn't have any logos. And my friend Rick, who's like my best friend, and I helped him, like, we came up together. We all came up together. And as they're walking down stage, Rick just goes, pulls the stickers off. There's things that go on stage.
Wow. That's cool.
It was gnarly. Big deal. Dude, so they walk out, it's like live.
Yeah.
Right, they can't do anything.
They can't do anything. It's like it's already happened. So they're out there playing, and it says Hurley.
Wow.
And so, boom, it happens. And then they win, like, Best New Artist, Hurley. It was like
Nice.
instant.
Perfect storm.
It was a perfect storm. And then everything to start happening. So we had to do a certain amount of money to even keep the lights on. And everyone's like, you guys got to start small. You got to do this. And we're like, nah. And it's crazy because one of the keys to success was youth. And I love sharing the story. Bob and I sat down with our sales team. All guys are a little bit older. And we go, this is what we're doing. This is why we're doing it. And they have a choice between Hurley and Billabong. And we told them, like, dude, it's going to be rad. It's this, like, it's punk rock. It's freedom. You know, we don't want any marquee athletes. We don't want anybody who's famous. We want the guys who are, like, just out there living it, who, like, the kids look up, like, your local kids you look up to, like, you know, the raddest guy in the high school. That's the guy we want. Because all the kids in high school, I want to be that guy. Not the person who's, like, in the magazines. So I made the pitch, and the next morning we woke up and our wholesale score team quit via Federal Express letter.
What? The whole team quit?
Every one of them. We lost our sales guys in one day.
What? Shit. They just didn't believe in the...
They just, Billabong made them a better offer, which
Oh, shit.
Because we were parting ways, and they're like, no, you can stay with us. Those guys aren't going to pull it off. We're doing, you know, at that time we were doing a couple $100 million in the U.S., and we're rolling the dice. We're not doing anything. So it's like you have a couple $100 million, or you can...
Yeah.
Certainty or not.
Yeah, or you can roll with Bob and Paul. And we're like, oh. So they all quit. And I'm like, Bob's like, what do we do? I got the best idea ever. And he's like, what's that? I go, screw those guys. I go, every one of them's got a sub rep.
What's a sub rep?
A sub rep.
Shit, yeah.
Everyone's got a sub rep. The sub rep's the guy who goes in there and has to fold all the clothes and talks to the kids on the floor and makes sure the section looks good.
That's me here.
Yeah. A sub rep. So you're the guy. You're the scrub.
Oh.
You're the scrub. You're the guy, and the guy pays you like $500 a month. The rep pays you like, $500 a month, and you get to go surfing, whatever, and you get $500 a month. So I call those sub reps up. I'm like, hey, dude, come to the office. I'm all, you guys want to do something rad? I go, what? I go, every one of you guys can have your boss's job. And they're like, really? And I'm all, yeah, you can have their job. And these are like kids. They're like 18, 19, young kids. Are like, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, bro.
Hell yeah, I'll take the job. No, but that's exactly it. Because it's like the guy who's like, dude, the floor's like, where are you at? You're surfing, the floor's messy, the t-shirts are this. You didn't get the count right. They're just getting treated like scrubs. And at that time, you had the reps walking by the kids on the floor and going and talking to the buyer. And the guy who's folding all the clothes are friends with all the kids on the floor. They're boys. They're going surfing with them in the morning, coming in, like hanging out with them, partying with them at night. The whole trip gave every one of them a job. And then all the kids on the floor go, dude, you got the job? We got you.
Not so good.
We got you, right? So as soon as we hired those kids, all the kids on the floor is like, that's lame, buy these guys. But it was like wildfire. So we had to do I think it was 15 million the first year to stay in business. That's keep the lights on and not fire anybody. And all of us took pay cuts.
And at that time,
1 year to do 15 million.
Wow.
Blink happened, hired all these things. One of these other guys won it just was like everything, all the stars aligned. We blew past that number.
Wow.
By millions.
What was the number? Can you tell me?
Yeah, it was like over $30 million in 1 year.
That's amazing.
The year before I had a $50,000 marketing budget.
wow.
Wow.
So now, we're going into 2020. 1999, yeah, 2020.
2000.
2000, yeah.
The 2020 is like 5 years ago.
Just like so we're going into
Before 2020.
we're going into 2000. Sorry. So we go and we're just growing. So like at this time, but then we had this. I called it the Blink backlash. So all the bands that we were working with before, they were like, oh, all the kids like, because Blink was huge, gigantic, and then everyone's like, all the other bands like, I don't want to wear the Blink stuff. I don't want to be like,
Because they're too big now.
yeah, so it got too mainstream, and I was like, damn, this is gnarly. What do I do? So I went back to my playbook. I called up all the bands I work with. I'm like, what do you like? Told me I'm going to make your own T-shirts for you. Nobody can buy them. They're only yours for 6 months. And I go, really? I go, tell me what you want. So I made all these T-shirts for like Pennywise, Bad Religion, all the big punk bands, everybody. I'm like, here's the stuff.
Were they Hurley collabs or no? Just
They were Hurley shirts, but that's the art they wanted.
Oh, I see.
Like, I like this. There you go. I like that. Here you go. And at that time, it was like, I was starting to do that. So I had Pharrell Williams heard, and he goes, hey, I want to come meet with you, because he was doing BBC and Groupie with Kalyne. So I get this call, and it's like, hey, we want to come, because I know those guys, they're Mount Trashmore kids. So Virginia Beach is like a very famous skate area, and it's called Mount Trashmore. It's a skate park built on a dump, so it's called Mount Trashmore. And they're like, so NRD is like Virginia Beach guys. And my friend Bushka Vidal was like, knew these guys, so it just kind of worked out that way. And then we helped Travis start Famous, Bob and I. We helped Pharrell with his thing. We had all these different people come, just we're like, dude, we get it. We want to help. Like when you came in, was the first thing, I want to help you, right? Because everyone helped us get to where we're at. So then 2001, September 10th, this is where I get to Gucci and whatever. And
Whoa, before we get that, because 2001, September 11th is one of our favorite holidays here, we're going to have to come back. Part 3, getting to know Paul Gomez.
This is his favorite.